Imagine settling deeper into wherever your body rests right now, letting the surface beneath you cradle your weight with quiet patience. The air around you feels soft and still, like a faint whisper drifting through a dark forest. And far below you, not inches, not feet, but worlds beneath the soil, a hidden network is unfolding, stretching silently through earth, sand, roots, and stone. As your breath slows, you might notice a gentle question rising inside you. Are you in bed, on a couch, or somewhere peaceful tonight? Wherever you are, let that place soften around you. Let your shoulders release. Let the night settle gently over your thoughts. You don't need to stay awake for this. You don't need to catch every word. Beneath forests, meadows, gardens, and quiet patches of moss lies a vast, invisible realm, the mycelial world. Threads finer than hair weave through the soil like soft white roots, connecting trees, grasses, flowers, and ancient pieces of decaying wood. These threads drift through the earth like gentle whispers, carrying nutrients, information, and stories older than human memory. Have you ever walked through a forest and felt the sense that something unseen was watching, not with eyes, but with presence? Imagine that presence now. Feel cool soil beneath your feet. Hear faint rustles of leaves overhead. See soft beams of light slipping between branches. Let that hidden awareness surround you. You can drift deeper. Fungal mycelium forms enormous networks, some stretching for miles. Beneath the forest floor, they create something researchers call the wood wide web, a quiet communication system that allows trees to share resources, send warnings, and support their young. Imagine an old wooden library at night, shelves whispering stories to one another through the stillness. Feel the hush of the air. Hear faint creaks in distant corners. See dust motes drifting in lamplight. Let that interconnected silence fill your mind. You don't need to stay alert. Mycelium grows softly, pushing through soil in slow, patient movements. It doesn't force its way forward. It explores, sensing moisture, warmth, minerals. Each thread splits and branches, weaving into the soil like the delicate veins in a leaf. Have you ever watched frost form on a window pane, spreading in branching patterns that look like tiny trees? Imagine mycelium spreading that way. Feel cool glass beneath your fingertips. Hear soft crackles of freezing water. See patterns blooming outward like quiet stars. Let those branching shapes ease your thoughts. You can soften. Some fungal networks act like caretakers of the forest. They carry nutrients from trees that have plenty to trees that are weak or shaded. They help seedlings, small, fragile, barely alive, find the strength to grow. Through these networks, the forest becomes a single breathing organism where every tree is connected by threads of soft, living lace. Imagine holding a warm bowl between your hands, feeling heat pass gently into your fingers. Feel that warmth spreading. Hear your breath deepening. See steam rising in soft curls. Let that warmth flow through you the way nutrients flow through mycelium. You don't need to stay present. Some fungi glow in the dark, faint greenish lights that shimmer in the undergrowth. These foxfire fungi illuminate the forest floor with a ghostly glow, like forgotten lanterns left behind by wandering spirits. Have you ever seen a firefly blinking through the night, its tiny light floating like a dream? Imagine that glow beneath your feet. Feel cool night air brushing your skin. Hear distant insects humming softly. See faint green circles shimmering in the dark. Let that strange beauty settle inside your chest. You can drift. Deep beneath the soil, fungi make decisions, not with thought, not with intention, but with chemistry. sensing signals, responding to the environment, sending impulses through their networks. This quiet intelligence guides roots, shapes forests, and even influences the soil itself. Imagine holding a smooth stone that feels warm on one side and cool on the other, sensing subtle changes in temperature. Feel contrasts shifting, hear silence deepening, see nothing but soft shadows. Let that gentle sensing calm your mind. You don't need awareness. Some fungal networks are ancient, older than the forest they support. When a tree dies, the mycelium beneath it remains, waiting patiently for another root to reach down, another moment of connection, another life to nourish. Imagine sitting by an old tree trunk softened by time, its bark peeling gently, its roots thick with memory. Feel rough texture beneath your fingers. Hear wind whispering through hollow spaces. See moss covering old wood with a soft green blanket. Let that sense of age ease you deeper into rest. You can drift further. Mycelium is the planet's great recycler. When leaves fall, when branches break, when creatures pass away, fungi dissolve them tenderly, returning their nutrients to the soil. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is lost. Everything is transformed in the quiet dark. Imagine watching waves wash over footprints in sand, smoother them until the beach is clean again. Feel sand under your toes, hear waves rolling with soft rhythm, see traces fading into smooth shoreline. Let that erasing motion calm your thoughts. You don't need to stay awake. Fungi form relationships with nearly every plant on Earth. Some trees cannot live without their fungal partners. Their lives intertwine, one offering sugars, the other offering minerals. A slow, quiet exchange beneath the soil. Imagine two hands exchanging a small object without words, understanding each other through the softness of the gesture. Feel warmth passing between palms, hear gentle breaths in silence, see hands meeting and parting with care. Let that quiet cooperation soothe you. You can drift deeper now. Fungi even shape the atmosphere. They release spores that drift like tiny travelers through the air, seeding clouds, influencing rain, guiding weather in faint, mysterious ways. Imagine watching dust rise in a golden beam of light, tiny particles floating like worlds suspended in warm glow. Feel air moving gently past your cheek. Hear your breath brushing the quiet. See particles drifting without direction. Let yourself drift with them. You don't need to remain conscious. The underground fungal world is a place of secrets, dark, delicate, patient. A soft network that never sleeps, never stops, never rushes. A hidden architecture beneath your feet. Imagine lying in a meadow with your palms resting on the earth, feeling something subtle beneath the soil. Not movement, but presence. Feel earth warming your hands, hear grass swaying gently, see sky opening above you in deep blue calm. Let that sense of connection cradle you. You can rest, and as you drift deeper into the night, remember, you walk above a world of threads. You breathe above a world of quiet caretakers. You dream above a kingdom older than forests, older than mountains, older than animals. Let yourself soften into that knowledge. Let yourself drift. Let yourself sleep. The underground fungal world stretches far deeper than most roots can reach, a quiet continent of branching threads. These threads, called hyphae, creep through the soil with soft patience, finding pathways through grains of sand, around pebbles, between hair-like root tips. They do not rush. They do not force. They follow the tiniest hints of moisture, drifting toward nourishment with sublime calm. Imagine water slowly spreading through a sponge, gentle, silent, finding every opening with effortless grace. Feel that slow spreading. Hear the faint hush of movement you can barely detect. See moisture blooming across soft surfaces. Let that gentle exploration settle inside you. You don't need to stay awake for this. Mycelial threads can sense chemical signals from both plants and other fungi. They recognize familiar partners. They know which trees offer sugars generously and which ones withhold. They can interpret stress, hunger, drought, damage, and they respond not with emotion, but with intricate chemistry whispered through soil grains. Have you ever sensed someone's mood without hearing a single word, just by the subtle shift in their presence? Imagine the fungal network sensing that way. Feel the quiet intuition. Hear soft echoes rising from deep soil. See invisible signals moving like drifting perfume. Let that sensing soothe your thoughts. You can drift deeper. Some fungi create enormous underground organisms, so large they challenge imagination. In Oregon, one single fungal network spans over 3 square miles. This ancient being, often called the humongous fungus, is one of the largest and oldest living things on Earth, quietly spreading beneath a forest for thousands of years. Imagine lying beneath a vast ceiling of tree branches, knowing they all belong to a single organism, a slow, silent presence stretching beyond sight. Feel that vastness wrapping around you. Hear distant leaves rustling. See branches interlacing like woven fingers. Let that presence wash over your mind. You don't need to think. Fungi create networks that shift and adapt. If one pathway is damaged, hyphae reroute themselves like travelers finding new roads. If a tree falls, the fungus beneath it doesn't panic. It dissolves the trunk slowly, tenderly, returning every molecule to the soil so new life can rise from it. Imagine watching snow melt slowly from a fallen log, revealing new sprouts pushing through the softened bark. Feel cold air warming. Hear melting droplets tapping gently. See fresh green shoots emerging. Let that renewal deepen your relaxation. You can soften. Some fungi weave themselves into roots so tightly that the boundary between plant and fungus becomes impossible to see. Under a microscope, the fungal threads slip between root cells like soft threads stitched into fabric, forming a partnership so intimate it shapes entire ecosystems. Imagine running your fingers across a piece of hand-woven cloth, feeling where one thread crosses into another seamlessly. Feel the gentle texture. Hear cloth brushing lightly. See threads merging into one surface. Let that unity ease your thoughts. You don't need awareness. Deep in dark forests, certain fungi create tiny structures called rhizomorphs, which look like long black cords. These cords transport water across vast distances, bringing moisture to trees during drought. They act like secret conduits beneath the soil, carrying life where it is needed most. Imagine underground rivers flowing through stone caverns, silent, reliable, patient. Feel cool mist on your face. Hear water echoing softly. See shimmering streams hidden in darkness. Let those hidden rivers calm your breath. You can drift further. Fungi remember patterns. When a thread finds nutrients in one direction, future threads grow that way more quickly. When a toxin appears, the network reorganizes to avoid it. This memory is not conscious, yet it persists. Stored in chemical traces, shifts in density, subtle changes in growth. Imagine running your hand across sand where waves have drawn soft patterns, faint but meaningful, guiding the water's next movements. Feel the ridges beneath your fingertips. Hear distant surf. See lines repeating gently with each tide. Let that quiet memory settle your mind. You don't need to stay present. Fungi whisper to seeds buried in the soil, coaxing them to germinate by supplying signals that say, "The time is right, the soil is ready." Without these fungal cues, many plants would remain asleep indefinitely. Fungi are the forest's soft alarm clock. Imagine someone waking you gently with a whisper rather than a shout, softly inviting you into the day. Feel warm light approaching. Hear the faintest murmur. See eyelids fluttering open slowly. Let that tenderness hold you. You can drift. Many fungi release spores only under the quietest conditions, after rainfall at night, during still air. Spores rise like invisible smoke, drifting toward light or carried by wind to distant places. They are the galaxy's dust, but on Earth, tiny seeds seeking new homes. Imagine lying on your back and watching dust swirl through a beam of morning sunlight. Feel warmth across your skin. Hear quiet house sounds in the distance. See particles rising and falling without hurry. Let yourself rise and fall with them. You don't need consciousness. Spore release can even be explosive. Tiny puffballs that burst when touched by raindrops, sending clouds of spores into the air. Yet even these bursts feel gentle in the grand timeline of forests, like soft breaths exhaled into quiet morning light. Imagine a soft sigh leaving your lips on a cold day, forming a tiny cloud of fog that expands and dissolves. Feel the warmth escaping. Hear the faint hush of your breath. See the mist fading in cool air. Let that exhale guide your body deeper into rest. You can drift further. Many fungal species glow faintly, not just on the surface, but within their threads underground. Their bioluminescence comes from chemical reactions that create soft greenish light. In ancient forests, faint carpets of glowing mycelium once illuminated the night, forming living lanterns shining from the soil. Imagine walking through a nighttime meadow where the ground itself glows gently beneath each step. Feel grass brushing your ankles. Hear nocturnal insects singing. See pale green halos underfoot. Let that glow cradle your thoughts. You don't need to follow every image. Through these networks, fungi play an ancient role. Guardians, recyclers, architects, messengers. They hold the forest's secrets. They maintain its balance. They connect tree to tree, life to life, moment to moment. Beneath you, right now, even if you cannot feel it, mycelium is at work, weaving the quiet structure beneath Earth's living skin. Imagine lying down in a forest clearing, placing your palm gently on the ground and sensing something warm and alive moving slowly beneath your hand. Not frightening, not strange, but comforting. Feel Earth's pulse beneath your palm. Hear wind threading through branches above. See soft darkness settling like a blanket. Let that connection ease your breath. You can soften. As you drift into the edges of sleep, imagine the underground world continuing its slow, mysterious work. Threads weaving, signals flowing, nutrients drifting, memories forming. A silent kingdom beneath your feet, patient and eternal. Let yourself become part of that softness. Let yourself drift with those threads. Let yourself sleep. Imagine settling deeper into the place where your body rests tonight, letting the quiet air around you soften into something almost warm, almost weightless. As your breath slows, the world begins to feel lighter, as though the boundaries of your room are dissolving into a soft haze. And in that gentle dimness, the smallest travelers on Earth begin their story. Spores, drifting like ancient whispers through the air, the soil, the lungs of forests. As your body relaxes, you might feel a gentle question floating across your thoughts. Where are you drifting off from tonight? Wherever you are, let the space cradle you. Let your shoulders release. Let the quiet settle around your heartbeat. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to hold on to every word. Spores are the breath of fungi, tiny delicate seeds smaller than dust, lighter than ash, capable of travelling unimaginable distances. Some drift gently from mushroom caps like faint smoke rising in still air. Others wait patiently inside sealed structures, breaking free only when rain, wind, or the soft pressure of a passing creature invites them into motion. Have you ever seen dust rising from an old book as you open its cover? Imagine spores drifting that way. Feel the soft air moving. Hear faint rustles of pages. See tiny particles dancing in golden light. Let that drifting quiet your thoughts. You can sink deeper. A single mushroom can release billions of spores, not loudly, not violently, but in a steady, patient stream. From below, these spores lift into the air like invisible fog, drifting upward in slow spirals. Some settle just inches away, others travel across continents. Imagine standing in a forest clearing at dawn, watching mist rise from the ground in pale, swirling ribbons. Feel the cool moisture around your skin. Hear drops falling from leaves. See mist curling in gentle patterns. Let that rising mist carry your thoughts away. You don't need to think. Spores come in countless shapes: spheres, spines, wings, stars. Under a microscope, they look like miniature worlds, each one holding the potential for new life. Some resemble tiny sea urchins covered in delicate spines. Others look like tiny planets dusted with craters or wrapped in soft filaments. Have you ever held a snowflake on your glove and noticed the intricate patterns hidden in something so small? Imagine spores shaped with that same quiet complexity. Feel cold air brushing your hand. Hear soft crunches beneath your feet. See delicate crystals shimmering. Let that tiny beauty soothe your mind. You can drift. Some fungi launch their spores with astonishing precision. Certain species use microscopic springs, tiny pressure-filled cells that pop like gentle snaps, sending spores flying into air currents. Yet even these miniature explosions feel delicate in the vastness of the forest, like small sighs released into morning air. Imagine flicking a single droplet of water from your fingertip, watching it arc gracefully before falling. Feel the surface tension break. Hear the faint splash as it lands. See the droplet glimmer in light. Let that small motion slow your thoughts. You don't need awareness. Many spores wait for darkness. They slip into the air at night when winds are calm and predators roam less freely. In the quiet of evening, spores rise like invisible fireflies, drifting through moonlit beams. Some glow faintly under ultraviolet light, shimmering with hidden colours. Imagine walking through a field at night where faint sparks drift upward like stars breaking free of the earth. Feel cool night air touch your face. Hear distant insects humming softly. See pale glimmers hovering near the ground. Let that nighttime glow lull your breathing. You can soften. Some spores are carried by animals, a deer brushing against a mushroom, a snail sliding across a decaying log, a bird stepping in soft soil. Each movement sends spores travelling, clinging to fur, feathers or shells like hitchhikers waiting for the next chapter of their journey. Imagine brushing past tall grass and seeing pollen dust your clothes with a faint yellow sheen. Feel soft blades against your skin. Hear the whisper of wind through stems. See golden dust settling lightly. Let that gentle contact calm you. You don't need to stay alert. Other spores travel through water, drifting in streams and puddles like tiny seeds carried by gentle currents. In ponds and marshes, they float until they find something to hold on to, a fallen leaf, a twig, a reed, beginning new growth beneath still water. Imagine watching leaves float lazily down a slow river, turning gently as the current guides them. Feel water's cool presence. Hear quiet ripples touching the shore. See reflections shimmering on the surface. Let that drift loosen your mind. You can drift even deeper. Spores can survive conditions humans cannot. Freezing cold, scorching heat, dry deserts, deep oceans, even outer space. They wrap themselves in protective layers and wait, suspended in time, until the world becomes gentle enough to welcome them again. Imagine slipping into a warm blanket on a cold night, safe, protected, untouched by the chill outside. Feel fabric warming your skin. Hear your breathing slowing. See the soft glow of night around you. Let that protection wrap your thoughts. You don't need to follow the story. Some fungi use animals directly to spread spores. Cordyceps, for example, sends spores onto insects. Tiny seeds that begin a quiet, intimate transformation within their new hosts. When the time is right, the fungus guides the insect to a place where the spores can release into the air, continuing the cycle. Imagine seeing a single seed carried by the wind to the perfect patch of soil, settling gently as though guided by unseen hands. Feel wind brushing your cheek. Hear leaves rustling overhead. See the seed turning in the air before landing. Let that delicate landing guide your rhythm. You can soften more. Some spores awaken only in fire, in burned forests, where heat has cleared away thick layers of brush. Certain fungi release spores that lie dormant until flames pass. These spores bring new life to the charred ground, sprouting quietly where everything else has fallen silent. Imagine watching glowing embers fade into soft black ash, and seeing the first green shoot rising stubbornly through the still warm soil. Feel warmth radiating from the ground. Hear faint crackling beneath the ash. See a fragile stem reaching upward. Let that quiet rebirth calm your breath. You don't need to remain conscious. Spores communicate in subtle ways. They sense moisture, temperature, chemicals, and respond. They gather into colonies, coordinate growth, wait for signals from the world above. They do not think, but they adapt with astonishing intelligence built into their chemistry. Imagine watching raindrops fall into a puddle, each one creating ripples that merge with others in gentle expanding circles. Feel water splashing lightly on your skin. Hear drops striking leaves overhead. See ripples joining into smooth waves. Let those ripples settle into your mind. You can drift further now. Spores represent mystery. They are the smallest pieces of a kingdom that thrives on silence, a world carried in the wind, a quiet presence in every breath of forest air. As you drift into the deeper softness of this night, imagine spores rising gently around you, not seen, not heard, only felt in the stillness. Tiny travelers drifting through darkness, carrying secrets older than mountains. Let yourself drift with them. Let yourself loosen. Let yourself rest. Imagine settling deeper into the quiet that surrounds you tonight, letting the space beneath your body soften into something warm, supportive, almost effortless. The stillness around you begins to feel older, deeper, as though the air itself remembers things from long before your first breath. And as your eyes grow a little heavier, the story of an ancient kingdom begins to rise gently through the dark. The fungal kingdom, older than forests, older than flowers, older even than the shapes of continents. A gentle question floats through the quiet. Are you drifting off somewhere warm or somewhere cool? Wherever you are, let that temperature wrap around you. Let your breath deepen. Let your thoughts dissolve like dust settling in slow light. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to hold on to anything that follows. Long before trees reach toward the sky, long before the first roots split open the soil, fungi had already spread across the earth in delicate branching webs. They arrived when the land was nearly bare, covered only in rock, wind, and shallow seas. In that ancient world, fungi thrived quietly, dissolving stone, breaking apart minerals, preparing the ground for the forests that would come millions of years later. Have you ever walked across an empty field before sunrise feeling like the world is waiting for something to begin? Imagine the early earth that way. Feel a faint breeze moving across barren land. Hear distant echoes of waves crashing against untouched shores. See pale light gathering at the horizon. Let that ancient stillness settle into your chest. You can drift deeper. The first fungi lived in the oceans. They drifted like tiny ghosts through warm water, feeding on decaying matter. Some attached themselves to underwater plants, forming early partnerships that would later shape all life on land. Imagine floating beneath the surface of a calm lake, weightless, surrounded by shimmering particles drifting in columns of sunlight. Feel cool water holding you. Hear your heartbeat echoing through your body. See light dancing above you in soft waves. Let that underwater quiet wrap around your thoughts. You don't need to stay present. When the first brave organisms crawled onto land, fungi followed. Their fragile threads explored cracks in the rock, dissolving minerals and gathering nutrients. Slowly they helped create the earlier soil, a thin, fragile layer of life that spread across continents like a newborn's skin. Have you ever watched moss grow across a stone wall inch by inch, barely moving yet slowly transforming the entire surface? Imagine fungi doing that across ancient rock. Feel rough texture under your hand. Hear wind brushing through empty space. See tiny green patches spreading softly. Let that slow transformation guide your breath. You can soften. One of the earliest giants of Earth's history wasn't a dinosaur or a tree or an animal at all. It was a fungus. Prototaxites, a mysterious organism over 20 feet tall, towered above the landscape like a colossal pillar. Some believe it was a giant fungus standing alone in a world with barely any other tall life, silent, still, watching over primitive Earth. Imagine walking through a foggy meadow where tall stone columns rise quietly from the ground, ancient and unmoving. Feel mist brushing your skin, hear droplets forming on unseen surfaces, see towering shapes fading into distance. Let those giant silhouettes cradle your imagination. You don't need to stay alert. Fungi helped plants move onto land by forming early partnerships with their roots. These ancient alliances gave plants the minerals they needed to survive outside the ocean. Without fungi, forests might never have existed. Grasslands might never have formed. Even the air you breathe today is shaped by these early relationships. Imagine someone offering you a hand as you step onto an unfamiliar path, guiding you gently into a new world. Feel fingers wrapping around yours. Hear quiet encouragement in the air. See a path opening before you, soft and inviting. Let that guidance soothe your mind. You can drift. Ancient fungi spread across continents in slow, delicate waves. Their spores travelled through wind, water, and shifting landmasses. They didn't move quickly. They didn't need to. Time was vast, and they spread like whispers carried by geological breath. Imagine watching shadows move across a hillside as clouds drift overhead, slow, effortless, without urgency. Feel cool shade touching your face. Hear distant wind through tall grass. See shadows sliding in gentle arcs. Let their unhurried motion soothe your chest. You don't need awareness. Fungi once ruled the earth in shapes we barely recognize. Some resembled tall reeds or branching corals. Others lived inside rocks, dissolving minerals from within. Some glowed in darkness. Some floated over shallow seas. Some survived beneath thick layers of volcanic ash. Imagine wandering through a dreamlike landscape where every shape feels familiar yet strangely ancient, as though you've stepped back into a forgotten world. Feel soft ground underfoot. Hear faint murmurs of unseen creatures. See silhouettes shifting in fog. Let that ancient mystery lull your mind. You can drift further. For millions of years, fungi were the primary decomposers on land. They broke apart fallen logs and dead plants long before insects evolved to help. They turned forests into soil. They renewed life with every cycle of decay. Imagine watching autumn leaves fall onto the ground, forming layers of soft colour that slowly melt into earth. Feel leaves brushing your shoulders. Hear their faint crackles beneath your steps. See colours deepening with each day. Let that quiet recycling calm your breath. You don't need to stay awake. Ancient spores have been found trapped in amber. Tiny, perfectly preserved worlds sealed inside golden resin for millions of years. These spores look almost identical to modern ones. Silent travellers frozen in time, waiting for a moment that will never come. Imagine holding a piece of warm amber in your hand, sunlight caught inside it like a memory. Feel smooth resin warming your skin. Hear the hush of distant waves. See tiny shapes suspended inside. Let that trapped stillness ease you. You can drift now. Fungi witnessed the rise of forests, the dawn of insects, the arrival of dinosaurs, the spread of mammals. They have survived mass extinctions, ice ages, volcanic winters, and the shifting shapes of continents. And through all of it, they remained quiet caretakers, dissolving, rebuilding, renewing. Imagine walking through an old library stacked with books that have outlived their authors by centuries, each one holding stories that shaped the world long ago. Feel the weight of old paper beneath your hand. Hear soft creaks in wooden shelves. See light slipping through dust-filled air. Let that sense of endurance calm your entire body. You don't need to stay conscious. Ancient fungi shaped the world you walk on. They carved the soil. They fed early plants. They softened rock. They built the first ecosystems. And even now, beneath your feet, the descendants of those ancient beings continue their slow, mysterious work, whispering through the soil, weaving life together in quiet ways you may never see. Let yourself soften into that knowledge. Let the ancient calm wrap around you. Let yourself drift. Imagine settling into a place where the forest breathes around you, not with urgency, but with a slow rhythm that has been present for millions of years. The air is cool, scented faintly with damp soil and moss, as if the earth itself has just exhaled after a long, quiet slumber. You're safe here. You're welcome here. And as you breathe slowly, letting your shoulders loosen and your thoughts drift like mist between old branches, you may feel an invitation taking shape, a gentle curiosity as soft as the whisper of leaves overhead. Before we drift deeper, let me softly ask, are you in bed, on a couch, or somewhere peaceful? It's okay if you're already starting to let go. You don't need to listen closely. You don't need to remember every word. This is a space for rest, and you may drift whenever you're ready. Imagine walking into a forest at dusk, light fading into shades of silver and blue, shadows lengthening across soft earth. Feel the cool breeze on your skin. Hear the faint rustling of small creatures settling for the night. Notice the quiet, the stillness, the sense that the world beneath your feet is alive with secrets that move too slowly for the human eye to see, and let yourself sink gently into that stillness. Have you ever wondered what lies under the forest floor beneath the layers of fallen leaves and soft, dark soil? Long ago, researchers kneeling beside ancient trees noticed something unusual. Thin white threads weaving through the dirt like delicate veins. These threads were not roots. They were not insects. They were something older, something quieter, something that had been shaping the forest long before humans ever stepped foot on the land. These threads belonged to fungi, forming vast networks called mycelium. They stretch beneath forests in patterns that resemble galaxies, with pathways branching and reconnecting in ways that seem almost thoughtful. In silence, they drift through soil, wrapping gently around stones, reaching into decaying logs, dissolving fallen leaves with patient care. And as you rest here with this image, it may comfort you to know that these networks are some of the largest and oldest organisms on Earth, growing slowly, quietly, over centuries. You don't need to stay awake for all of this. You might drift away halfway through. That's completely okay. Let yourself soften. Imagine kneeling beside an old tree. Place your hand on the bark. Feel the rough texture, cool from the shade. Beneath your hand, the tree is connected to others through those same threads, fungal bridges that carry nutrients and information. Yes, the forest is whispering beneath the surface. This gentle connection is sometimes called the wood wide web, though the fungi do not hurry like human technology. Their communication is slow and thoughtful, drifting from tree to tree in waves of subtle chemistry. If one tree is thirsty, the fungal network helps direct water its way. If insects begin to nibble its leaves, warning signals travel underground, allowing neighbours to prepare. Perhaps you felt this before, the comfort of knowing that even in silence you're connected to something larger. As you breathe softly, imagine the faint scent of pine and rich earth. Feel the cool humidity of the forest shade wrap around you like a soft blanket. Hear the distant sound of water, maybe a tiny stream, maybe only dew dripping from high branches. Notice how the air feels smoother here, as though touched by something ancient and patient. These fungal networks recycle everything the forest sheds. Old leaves, fallen branches, even the remains of animals. All of it is gently softened, dissolved, and returned to the soil. Without fungi, forests would drown in their own debris. Nothing would break down. Nothing would renew. They are the quiet caretakers of the world. Have you ever wondered how forests remain so endlessly vibrant? The secret is hidden beneath your feet. Let yourself drift a little deeper. Long ago, when early plants first reached towards sunlight on a barren earth, they could not survive alone. The soil was harsh and nutrient poor. But tiny fungi approached them, forming partnerships that still exist today. One offered minerals drawn from stone, the other offered sugars born from sunlight. Together they created the first thriving ecosystems. This ancient cooperation, so soft and subtle, still shapes every forest on the planet. Imagine that partnership now. See the roots of a young seedling extending into darkness. Feel the cool soil surrounding them. Hear nothing but the pulse of slow growth. Notice how the fungal threads wrap around each root tip, delicate yet essential. Let yourself sink into that image of quiet support, and as you breathe gently, here are soft truths drifting toward you, each one a small mystery shaped by time. Fungi can sense openings in wood, guiding their growth like quiet explorers. They release enzymes that drift through darkness, dissolving obstacles with patient care. They glow faintly in some forests, casting a pale green light that seems to shimmer with old magic. Their spores can ride the wind across continents, floating silently for hundreds of miles. Some species form rings in the grass, fairy rings that expand year after year in perfect slow circles. Others connect with orchid seeds, feeding them until they're strong enough to grow. It's okay if your mind drifts. It's okay if your breathing slows. This story is here for you whether you're awake or already far away. Picture a fallen log softened by time. Touch the spongy wood. Smell the faint sweetness of decay. Hear the crumble beneath your fingers. Notice how life is returning to the soil. Let yourself relax into the idea that endings can be gentle. Inside that log lives a kingdom of fungi, tiny fruiting bodies, threads thinner than hair, clusters shaped like cups, antlers, shelves, or even glowing tendrils. Some of them digest wood so slowly that a single log may take decades to fully disappear. Some store water, creating small oases for insects. Some capture microscopic prey with sticky traps or tiny lassos. Have you ever wondered why the forest floor feels so soft under your feet? It is because fungi have been tending it, cushioning it, weaving it into a place where everything can rest. A long time ago, explorers found a fungus so vast it covered more than 2,000 acres of forest, quietly extending beneath the soil like a living tapestry. It may be one of the largest organisms ever discovered, yet if you walked above it, you'd never know. That is the nature of fungi. They do powerful things without needing to be seen. Perhaps you've noticed how comforting that idea feels. How comforting it is to know that so much gentle work happens in silence. Imagine standing in a clearing as night settles. The faint glow of bioluminescent fungi lights patches of fallen wood. Feel cool night air brushing your skin. Hear distant owls calling softly. Notice how darkness feels welcoming rather than empty. Let yourself drift into that calm. As you rest, consider this quiet truth. Fungi create soil. Without them, forests could not grow. Meadows would not flourish. Life would not have the rich ground it needs. They hold the world together. You don't need to stay awake to appreciate this. You may fade whenever your body wishes. It's okay to let go. Softly, the mysteries continue to unfold. Some fungi send nutrients to sick trees, nursing them from underground. Some partner with other fungi to share resources in the same log. Some mimic the scent of dying insects to attract curious visitors. Some create tiny ecosystems on their surfaces, hosting mites, beetles, and delicate microlife. There are fungi that produce heat, warming themselves through chemical reactions. There are fungi that create miniature currents in water droplets, using them like catapults to launch spores into the air. There are fungi that drift inside clouds, helping raindrops form. In this way, they help create weather. Have you ever wondered if something so small could shape something so large? Imagine rain falling gently through a canopy of trees. Feel the cool droplets against your skin. Hear the patter of water on leaves. Smell the fresh petrichor rising from the forest floor. Notice how everything becomes softer. Let yourself breathe with the rhythm of the rain. Fungi thrive during these moments, awakening with moisture. Their threads swell, their fruiting bodies rise, their spores dance through fog. In silence, the forest becomes a cathedral of renewal, and perhaps you're already drifting, barely awake, barely aware. That's okay. That's perfect. Let yourself fade. Deep under the forest floor, fungi wrap around stones, slowly releasing minerals into the soil. They transform hard rock into nourishment. They break down leaf litter into soft humus. They cradle roots and guide seedlings. They defend plants from disease. They store carbon that would otherwise drift into the air. They are the quiet architects of the forest. Imagine placing your hand on the ground and feeling warm soil beneath your palm. Feel its softness. Smell the gentle aroma of earth. Hear nothing but your own breath. Notice how alive it feels. Let yourself become part of that living landscape. And now, as the forest fades into a soft blur, let yourself drift. You don't need to remember these facts. They will settle into your mind like spores drifting onto fertile ground, gently, without effort, quietly, softly, calmly. The chapter ends here, wrapped in stillness. Imagine yourself wandering into a forest long after the sun has dipped below the horizon. The air feels cool and clean, touched with the faint scent of damp leaves and the distant sound of night insects humming softly in their hidden corners. Above you, the sky stretches like a deep ocean, dark and endless, while around you, the forest settles into its slow, nocturnal silence. As you breathe quietly, letting your shoulders sink a little, a gentle question floats through the stillness, soft as dew. From which corner of the world are you drifting off tonight? It's okay if you don't answer. You don't need to. You don't even need to stay awake. This forest will hold you either way. Imagine stepping deeper into the shadows, guided only by the faint glow of moonlight threading between branches. The ground beneath your feet feels soft, cushioned by old layers of moss and fallen needles. With each step, you sense the world growing quieter, as if the forest itself is inhaling slowly, preparing to reveal a secret older than memory. Then, as your eyes adjust, you begin to notice something subtle. A faint shimmer near a fallen log, a glow soft and pale like a distant star breathing near the earth. You move closer and the light brightens ever so gently, never harsh, never sudden, until you realize you're seeing one of the forest's quiet wonders, bioluminescent fungi glowing calmly in the dark. Have you ever wondered why some things glow even in the deepest night? Long ago, travellers walking through dense forests noticed strange green lights along old paths. They called it foxfire, imagining mischievous spirits or tiny lanterns guiding them home. But the truth is even softer, even more wondrous. Certain fungi produce a gentle glow through a slow chemical dance, a reaction between luciferin, oxygen, and enzymes that stirs peacefully inside their tender tissues. Picture that glow now, a soft green, not bright, not sharp, more like breath, more like memory. Feel the darkness around you loosen. Hear the hush of nighttime leaves. Notice how your body relaxes as the forest light pulls you deeper into calm. Let yourself drift a little. It's okay. The glowing threads inside these fungi serve many gentle purposes. Some species glow to attract insects, who wander toward the faint light and pick up spores that cling like tiny grains of dust. Others glow as a quiet side effect of their metabolism, a natural shimmer produced simply because they are busy breaking down wood. Still others may glow to deter hungry creatures, sending a subtle signal that says, "Not here, not this one. You might not remember this part later, That's perfectly fine. You're allowed to drift. Imagine kneeling beside a log in the soft dark. Place your hand near the glow, not touching, just close enough to feel its presence. Feel the night air cool against your skin. Hear the distant murmur of water somewhere unseen. Smell the rich earth beneath you, alive with unseen threads and gentle decay. Notice how the glow flickers faintly when you shift your breath. There is something ancient in that light. Long ago, before forests even existed, early fungi learned to live in harsh, dim environments, places where glowing molecules offered small advantages, letting them thrive in darkness. Over millions of years, that glow persisted, becoming part of their nature. Today, more than 80 species across the world carry that soft, emerald radiance. Some drift along decaying branches, some rise from the forest floor like delicate lamps, some glow only on their undersides, hidden from all but the careful observer. Some shine strongest during rainfall, when the world feels washed clean. Have you ever noticed how nighttime makes small lights feel larger? How a faint shimmer can feel like a galaxy? Imagine walking deeper into this dreamlike forest. A soft path winds ahead of you, lined with moss that glistens under the strange glow. The trees stand tall above you, their trunks disappearing into silhouettes that sway gently with the wind. Every so often, you see small clusters of glowing mushrooms, shining like scattered constellations fallen to the forest floor. Let yourself wander slowly. Let your breath match the rhythm of your steps. Let your mind drift into the spaces between the lights. There are fungi that glow only briefly after being touched, like tiny creatures reacting to your presence. There are fungi whose glow brightens before a storm, sensing moisture even before rain begins to fall. There are fungi whose threads glow beneath bark, sending slow pulses of light along their mycelial veins. Imagine that, light travelling not through air but through wood, slow, steady, patient, a heartbeat in the forest. Do you notice how calm you feel right now? How darkness no longer feels empty? How the glow offers comfort rather than mystery? Perhaps you've wondered whether plants ever glow. Some do, but fungi are the true lanterns of the night. They drift through soil, inhabit old wood, and rise from hidden places where no other living thing brings light. Picture lifting a piece of fallen bark. Underneath, delicate threads shine faintly, like starlight trapped in roots. Feel the texture of the bark, rough at first, then soft as decay takes hold. Smell the damp air that has been sealed beneath. Hear the tiny shift of bugs disturbed by the movement. Notice how the glow remains steady. Let yourself sink into that image. Once, scientists wondered whether glowing fungi were trying to attract animals. They tested this idea gently, placing glowing and non-glowing samples in the forest at night. Insects visited the glowing ones more often, drawn like tiny wanderers to a faint promise of warmth or food. And so, spores were carried farther, drifting into new places where the fungus could take root. Life spreads quietly sometimes, softly, without effort, just like you're breathing now. You might already be drifting. You may not hear every word. That's okay. You don't need to. The glow of bioluminescent fungi is never harsh. It has a temperature of light that feels cool, calming, soothing to the eyes. Its wavelength sits in a spectrum reminiscent of deep ocean light. The kind of glow that makes darkness feel gentle instead of overwhelming. This is why ancient travellers felt comforted rather than frightened by foxfire. The glow feels natural, like something the night itself exhaled. Imagine holding a tiny glowing mushroom in your hands. Feel its smooth cap under your fingertips. Sense its fragility. Hear your own breath echo softly in the surrounding dark. Notice how even a small light changes the feeling of the entire forest. Let yourself rest in that glow. Some fungi glow strongest during spore release, shimmering subtly as microscopic particles drift into the air. Others glow more brightly when consumed by insects, as if reacting to the disturbance. Some glow continuously throughout their lives, small cosmic fires hidden in leaves and logs. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if trees glowed like this too? What the forest would look like, a quiet galaxy on Earth? Imagine a clearing where fallen branches glow softly, forming gentle arcs of light. Imagine mushrooms rising in clusters, their caps radiating a faint halo. Imagine the forest breathing around you as these lights shimmer, pulse, and settle into their natural rhythm. And let yourself drift deeper. You don't need to stay awake. You can fade whenever you're ready. As you stand in that quiet clearing, surrounded by the soft glow of hidden fungi, the night begins to feel like a companion rather than an emptiness. The darkness has softened, transformed by gentle green halos that drift across the forest floor. The light does not flicker like fire, nor pulse like neon. It simply exists, steady and patient, the way ancient things often are. Have you ever wondered if light can feel alive? These glowing fungi don't shine to impress or astonish. Their glow is subtle, almost shy, an echo of the quiet chemical rhythm moving through their tissues. The forest accepts this light with grace, letting it settle into fallen logs, into the stillness between roots, into the soft breath of earth. Imagine walking slowly between the glowing clusters. Feel the cool night air brushing your skin. Hear the faint chirping of insects blending with the whisper of distant trees. Notice the moss beneath your feet, damp and gentle. Let yourself melt into this moment without effort. It's okay if your eyes grow heavy. It's okay to drift. You don't need to hold on to every detail. Some species, like Pinellus stypticus, glow so evenly that entire logs seem to shimmer when the forest is wet. Others, such as Mycena chlorophyus, glow brightest right after their caps open, a brief celebration of life before the light slowly fades. There are species in Brazil whose glow is strong enough to be seen from several meters away, forming soft pools of brightness in the dark. Imagine stooping to observe one glowing cap up close. The surface is smooth, delicate. The light is steady, like a small lantern made of moonlight. The edges appear almost translucent. You can feel the calm it radiates, as if it remembers a time before hurry existed. Deep beneath this glow, the fungal threads work tirelessly, breaking down wood, recycling nutrients, guiding the forest's transformation. Their light isn't just decoration, it is part of a larger patience, a fungal rhythm older than trees themselves. Have you ever thought about how much of the world is shaped by things you cannot see? In soil, countless fungal threads glow microscopically, tiny pulses of chemical excitement. They carry signals through logs, turning the darkness into a gentle communication network. Some researchers believe the glow may help regulate internal processes, like a candle left burning to illuminate thought. Imagine that. Light not just for the world outside, but for the organism itself. You might not remember this later. That's okay. This is a place for resting, not remembering. Picture walking into a deeper part of the forest, where bioluminescent fungi coat fallen branches like soft embers. Feel the way the ground seems warmer here, protected by layers of decaying wood. Hear the hush of leaves brushing against each other overhead. Smell the cool, faint sweetness of mycelium at work. Notice how even in darkness, life feels abundant. Let your thoughts drift like spores on a calm breeze. Some scientists propose that glowing fungi originally developed their light to attract nighttime insects that help spread spores. Others think the glow serves as a protective mechanism, warning animals that the fungus might taste unpleasant. But the truth is that nature rarely settles on just one purpose. Light can be many things at once: signal, side effect, story. Long ago, people believed foxfire came from trapped souls or ancient spirits living inside the wood. They used glowing fungi to light small paths and even placed glowing fragments in children's rooms as gentle night lights. The glow offered comfort, not fear, something quiet to hold on to in the deep dark. You might feel that same comfort now. It's okay. You're safe here. Have you ever noticed how even the faintest light can redefine a space? How a single glow can turn darkness into a quiet sanctuary? Imagine lying on your back in the clearing. The cool earth supports you. The trees rise above you like silent guardians. The glowing fungi scatter light across the ground like fallen stars. Hear nothing but your breath. Feel the peace settling into your body. Let your mind drift wherever it wishes. Some bioluminescent fungi glow only beneath the surface, their light hidden until the wood splits or cracks. Others glow from within their stems, sending a gentle radiance outward like a soft whisper. Some glow strongest when the air is humid, the moisture amplifying their chemical reaction. Others glow even in dry heat, a quiet persistence that defies the climate. In Japan, there are forests where entire patches of land glow after rain, thousands of tiny mushrooms rising like emerald lanterns. In New England, children used to gather glowing wood to guide nighttime walks. In the tropics, bioluminescent fungi dot the forest like constellations brought down to earth. Let yourself imagine these scenes. Feel how they soften you. You don't need to resist sleep. You don't need to stay alert. It's okay to fade. There is a curious fact about these glowing beings. Their light never produces heat. It is cold light, a gentle radiance that does not burn, does not consume, does not demand. It is the purest expression of calm, light that illuminates without taking anything in return. Imagine cupping your hands around a glowing mushroom. Feel the coolness on your palms. Hear the distant breeze moving through branches. Smell the soft aroma of damp leaves. Notice the way the mushroom seems to breathe with the earth. Let that calmness settle into your chest. Perhaps you felt this before. The strange comfort of a faint light in deep darkness, a candle in a quiet room, a nightlight in childhood. A firefly drifting lazily through warm air. Fungal glow carries that same serenity. It doesn't ask to be seen, it simply exists, and in doing so, it soothes. Have you ever wondered whether the forest dreams, what its nighttime thoughts might feel like? Its quiet cycles of decay and renewal, its soft conversations beneath the soil. These glowing fungi might be part of that dream, a gentle exhalation of the earth's imagination. And as you breathe with the forest, slowly, calmly, easily, you might notice your mind becoming lighter. Thoughts dissolve, tension unknots. The glow wraps around you like a soft blanket made of stillness. You don't need to hold on. You don't need to wait for the end. Sleep can take you whenever it wishes. As the night deepens, the glowing clusters begin to blur softly, as if merging with the darkness itself. Their glow fades not because it weakens, but because your eyes grow heavier, The forest becomes a slow-moving galaxy, drifting gently behind your eyelids. The fungi continue glowing, even as you slip into rest. The forest continues breathing. The world holds you quietly. Imagine settling into a quiet space within yourself, a place where the air feels gentle and your thoughts move like slow clouds across a peaceful sky. The world around you softens as you breathe in deeply, letting your chest rise and fall with a calm, natural rhythm. The night folds around you like a soft blanket of silence. Before we drift further, allow this gentle question to echo faintly through your mind. What time is it where you are right now? You don't need to answer. You don't need to be awake for all of this. You may drift off whenever your body wishes. Now, imagine looking upward into a shaft of light, sunbeam or moonbeam, soft and pure, falling through the branches of a forest canopy. Dust particles drift lazily in the beam, moving as if guided by the slow breath of the world. You reach out your hand, feeling the air slide smoothly against your skin, noticing how even the tiniest specks seem to float with purpose. Among them, invisible to your eye but all around you, are spores, tiny seeds of fungi, lighter than dust, lighter than thought. They drift through the world constantly, silently, endlessly. Have you ever wondered how far something so small can travel? Long ago, naturalists realized that spores can rise higher than birds, higher than clouds, drifting into layers of atmosphere where winds circle the globe. Some spores have been found in the stratosphere, others cling to raindrops, gliding gently back down to forests, meadows, gardens, and deep wild spaces untouched by human feet. Imagine that journey. A single spore small enough to fit on the tip of your eyelash, lifting into warm air, rising slowly, drifting without effort. Feel the weightlessness. Hear the soft hum of distant winds. Notice how the world below becomes a blur of soft greens and blues. Let yourself drift with it. Spores are everywhere, on your skin, in your hair, floating through the air around you right now. It might sound strange, but it isn't unsettling. They rest gently, harmlessly, like tiny travelers pausing before continuing their quiet migration. You don't need to notice them. Your body doesn't mind them. They're simply part of the world's slow, natural cycle. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a meadow just after sunrise. The grass glistens with dew. The air feels cool against your cheeks. A faint breeze passes by, carrying with it thousands, millions of spores released during the night. You breathe in slowly, and the world feels clean, open, serene. Have you ever thought about how connected everything becomes through something so small? Spores are incredible travelers. Some drift only a few centimeters, some travel across oceans, some fall gently into new forests and begin forming networks beneath the soil. Others settle on fallen logs, helping begin the slow, tender process of decay. Each spore carries the potential for a new fungal body, a puffball, a shelf, a coral-like cluster, a hidden thread of mycelium, a world inside a speck. Let yourself breathe deeply now. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your thoughts become lighter, drifting like spores on warm currents. A long time ago, scientists wondered how fungi appear on isolated islands, places untouched by larger plants for ages. The answer drifted gently down from the sky. Spores had ridden wind currents across entire oceans, settling softly onto volcanic rock or empty sand, waiting patiently in silence until moisture and nutrients appeared. Imagine that patience, years passing quietly, a tiny spore resting, dreaming of life. Feel how unhurried that process is. Hear the soft wind passing over a lonely shore. Notice how gentle the world can be when allowed to move at its own pace. Let yourself ease into that rhythm. You might not hear every word from here on. That's perfectly okay. You're allowed to drift. Spores come in shapes that feel almost otherworldly. Some look like stars with pointed edges radiating outward. Some resemble tiny spheres, smooth and perfect. Some have ridges like fingerprints. Others look like small pieces of woven fabric, intricately patterned. Imagine holding a spore the size of a marble, enlarged many times. Look at the delicate etchings along its surface. Feel the imagined smoothness beneath your fingertips. Sense the faint energy of possibility contained within. Let the image soften your breath. Have you ever wondered how something so small can carry the entire blueprint of a fungal world? Spores don't sprout immediately. They wait, they rest, they sense. They test the moisture of the air, the presence of nutrients, the softness of the soil. Only when the world feels right do they begin to grow. Imagine that inner wisdom, knowing exactly when to emerge, when to remain still. Picture a forest floor blanketed in leaves. Beneath those leaves lie millions of spores sleeping quietly. Hear the faint rustle as the wind brushes the canopy. Smell the rich scent of decomposing leaves. Feel the softness under your feet. Notice how the forest holds so much life in so much stillness. Let yourself relax into that soil-deep calm. Some spores are released through a gentle puff, like a soft sigh from a mushroom touched by rain. Others explode outward in tiny bursts of air pressure, sending spores meters high. Puffballs release clouds when stepped on, sending millions of spores swirling into sunlight. The air becomes alive with almost invisible travelers. Have you ever noticed how beautiful dust looks in a sunbeam? Spores are part of that quiet dance. There are fungi that create their own wind, producing microscopic jets of air strong enough to lift their spores off the ground. Slowly, patiently, they build enough pressure to send their spores drifting into open space. A tiny launch, a quiet departure, a gentle flight. You may be drifting too. If your thoughts wander, let them. If your breath slows, that's good. There's no need to stay fully awake. Imagine spores drifting across seasons, some released in spring, carried by warm breezes, some rising in summer heat, some settling with autumn leaves, some caught in winter snow, preserved until thaw. Let yourself drift through those seasons with them. Feel time slow, hear distant winds, notice the way the world moves in delicate cycles. Let your body soften. Once, researchers collected air samples from mountaintops thousands of meters above sea level. They found fungal spores riding cold winds, some still alive, still capable of growing after returning to Earth. These spores had no fear of thin air, no concern for temperature, no urgency. They simply drifted. They simply existed, as you can too. Have you ever felt the comfort of being carried by something larger than yourself? Spore drift is like that, letting go, trusting air currents, allowing the world to move you gently. The spores do not steer, they do not resist, they surrender to motion, knowing they will eventually land where they are meant to be. You don't need to steer right now either. You don't need to stay in control, just breathe. Just drift. Imagine lying in a quiet field at dusk. The sky fades into soft lavender and deep blue. The first stars flicker overhead. Spores drift gently through the air around you, unseen but everywhere. Part of the evening's slow exhale. Hear the distant whisper of grasses swaying. Smell the faint sweetness of wildflowers cooling in the night. Feel the calm settling into your bones. Let yourself float. The air around you settles into a deep quiet as the spores continue their gentle migration through the world. They do not rush, they do not force. They drift with a patience that feels almost ancient, as though they understand something about time that humans rarely pause to notice. In their softness, there is wisdom. Have you ever wondered how many journeys begin without movement of your own? How many paths open simply by letting go? Spores carry the memory of entire forests, encoded in delicate threads of possibility. Some hold the potential to become towering fungal structures. Others may remain hidden beneath soil for years, weaving into networks unseen. Some drift into caves where no sunlight reaches. Others settle on tree bark high above the ground. Some find their way into tiny cracks in stone where they slowly begin to soften it. Imagine that hidden work. Feel the slow dissolving of stone into soil. Hear the subtle crumble in your imagination. Smell the mineral scent rising faintly from ancient rock. Notice how even the smallest life can reshape the world over time. Let yourself ease into that idea. You don't need to stay awake for this. You don't need to absorb every detail. Your mind can drift like a spore on a warm current. There are spores that ride lightning storms. During flashes of electrical charge, updrafts form that lift particles thousands of meters into the air. Spores rise with them, spinning gently, carried into new regions where rain eventually brings them down again. Some spores survive ultraviolet radiation high above cloud layers. Some remain dormant for decades before awakening. Some wait for fire, germinating only when heat cracks seed coats or exposes fresh, nutrient-rich soil. Have you ever felt the strange calm that comes after a storm? Spores thrive in that calm. Picture standing on a hill just after rainfall. The air feels washed clean. A soft mist hangs above the ground. Hear the distant dripping of water from branches. Smell the fresh earth rising through the air. Feel the world renewing itself around you. Notice how spores lift easily into this new moisture, using droplets as gentle elevators. Let yourself breathe with that sense of renewal. Many fungi release their spores at night when the air is cooler, calmer, and more humid. Darkness creates stability. Night breezes carry spores farther than turbulent daytime winds. The moonlight catches nothing. Spores remain invisible, but in that invisibility, they move with complete freedom. Imagine walking beneath a full moon. Feel the silver glow touching your face. Hear the quiet hush of nighttime insects. Sense spores drifting everywhere, soft and silent, like dreams you haven't had yet. Let your mind wander among them. You don't need to strain for meaning. It's okay to be sleepy. It's okay to let thoughts fade like distant echoes. Spores come in numbers that feel almost cosmic. One mushroom can release billions. A single puffball can send a visible cloud into the air, each particle a little vessel of possibility. Some species release spores with the slightest touch. Footsteps, raindrops, a passing animal. Others release them in coordinated bursts like synchronized whispers responding to the forest's rhythm. Have you ever noticed how nature rarely acts alone? How cycles intertwine, each supporting the next. Spores collaborate with the wind, the rain, the soil, the sun, and the creatures who wander through forests. Their drift is not random. It is part of a quiet orchestra of movement that sustains life across the planet. Imagine yourself drifting with them now. Feel your body becoming lighter, as though shedding weight you never meant to carry. Hear the soft murmur of wind over open fields. Smell the faintness of pollen and earth blending in the air. Notice how calm everything feels. Let yourself float. Some spores travel inside raindrops, others ride on the backs of insects, some cling to bird feathers, others drift on ocean currents, carried across vast waters until they find new land. There is a soft beauty in imagining these tiny travelers crossing boundaries without ever forcing their way forward. They surrender to motion, and motion brings them where they need to be. You don't need to force anything either. You don't need to stay upright or alert. Sleep may already be pulling at you gently. You can let it. Imagine lying on a moss-covered log. Feel the soft cushion beneath your body. Hear the faint rustle of leaves overhead. See spores drifting in your imagination like tiny sparks of light. Smell the warm scent of wood softened by time. Notice how the world holds you effortlessly. Let yourself rest. Deep in the rainforest, there are fungi that release spores in the form of tiny shimmering clouds, visible only when touched by a beam of sunlight. In northern forests, cold-adapted fungi release spores that drift through icy air, landing softly on snow. In deserts, spores wait for decades until rain finally returns. Have you ever wondered how patience feels when stretched across years? Spores know that feeling intimately. Each spore is a quiet story waiting for the right moment to unfold, a potential network, a potential glow, a potential forest, a potential world, and you too are allowed to rest without rushing, to drift without direction, to exist without effort. Some fungi form structures that launch spores so forcefully they create tiny plumes of air. Others build miniature catapults inside their fruiting bodies, using moisture to fling spores at the perfect angle. Even in these burst-like releases, there is no violence, only natural cycles of gentle propulsion, designed to give spores the best chance to rise. Imagine the soft sound of thousands of tiny releases, like the faintest whisper of rain on still water. Feel how soothing that rhythm becomes. Hear it fading into the distance. Notice how your breathing matches the pace. Let yourself sway with it. There are fungi whose spores glow faintly. In certain forests, when humidity rises and night deepens, spores drift like invisible fireflies, creating clouds of bioluminescence so soft and pale they resemble memories more than light. Few people ever see them, but they exist, quietly illuminating their hidden worlds. Imagine that now, a cloud of glowing spores floating past your face. Feel the cool night air, hear the hush of darkness. Notice the comfort in that gentle drifting light. Let the image settle over you like a soft blanket. You may already be half asleep. That's perfect. You don't need to remember this chapter. You don't need to stay with me until the end. Just drift. Spores are reminders that life spreads without force, without noise, without urgency. They move through the world softly, carried by currents larger than themselves. And in their drifting, they find new places to grow, quiet spaces where they can shape forests, feed ecosystems, and begin again. You are allowed to begin gently too, to drift, to rest, to sleep. The wind settles, the spores descend, the world becomes still. Imagine letting your breath slow into a soft rhythm, the kind that feels as though it could carry you effortlessly into sleep. The air around you becomes quieter, cooler, settling like a gentle mist against your skin. Somewhere in the stillness, a soft question rises and dissolves like a drifting cloud. Are you in bed, on a couch, or somewhere peaceful? You don't need to answer. You don't need to be awake for all of this. You're safe to drift. Now imagine this. You open your eyes not to a modern forest, but to one that existed long before humans, long before mammals, long before flowering plants. The air feels thicker, warm with ancient humidity. The sky above is muted, filtered through towering plants that resemble giant ferns and mosses, strange and enormous shapes, rising like soft green pillars. This world existed more than 400 million years ago, and in it, fungi ruled. Have you ever wondered what the earth looked like before trees? Picture a colossal structure rising before you, one so tall it seems to stretch into the soft haze of the ancient sky. It isn't a tree, it isn't a plant. It's something quieter, older, stranger. It is a giant fungus, known to us now as Prototaxites, one of the earliest towering organisms to shape Earth's surface. Some stood nearly 30 feet tall, entirely fungal, entirely silent. Their immense trunks made of tightly packed threads that pulsed with life. Imagine placing your hand against its surface. Feel the fibrous texture, slightly sponge-like. Hear the faint hum of ancient wind brushing past it. Smell the earthy fragrance of a world still learning how to breathe. Notice how small you feel beneath it. Let yourself settle into that feeling. It's okay if you drift. You don't need to hold on. Long before forests existed, fungi softened the earth. Their threads explored stone, dissolving minerals and turning barren rock into early soil. Without them, plants could never have taken root. Without them, Earth's surface would have remained hard and lifeless. Have you ever wondered how life begins in empty places? Imagine the patience required. Millions of years of quiet work. Fungal threads creeping through cracks, dissolving, softening, preparing. A silent transformation shaping the world. Breathe softly with that image. In those ancient times, the air smelled different, rich with volcanic gases, touched with the salt of early oceans. The land was quieter, no birdsong, no mammals, only the slow rhythm of wind and the whisper of early life. Fungi thrived in this world, dissolving fallen plant matter, returning nutrients, shaping landscapes. Picture a field of early mosses, low and sponge-like, shimmering faintly in humid air. Now picture the giant fungal pillars rising among them, immense and ghostly, like forgotten guardians. Feel the warmth of ancient sunlight against your skin. Hear the quiet hum of a world still new. Smell the mineral-rich soil forming underfoot. Let yourself drift into this deep time. You might not remember this later. That's completely okay. You don't need to. Fungi were Earth's first recyclers. They broke down plant matter that no animals yet existed to consume. They created the earliest ecosystems. Their threads connected the world in ways we still barely understand. Have you ever felt the comfort of knowing something older than yourself is holding everything together? Fungi hold history in their structure. When we look at fossilized fungal networks, we see patterns that resemble modern mycelium, threads weaving through ancient soil, delicate yet strong. These patterns whisper of life long gone but not forgotten. Imagine kneeling beside a fossil preserved for hundreds of millions of years. Touch its surface, smooth, cool, etched with subtle lines. Feel the weight of time resting in your fingertips. Hear the silence of ages passing in a single breath. Notice how something so old still holds a sense of presence. Let yourself lean into that stillness. Some ancient fungi partnered with early plants, offering minerals drawn from stone in exchange for sugars created through sunlight. This gentle cooperation helped forests rise for the first time on Earth. Without fungi, trees might never have existed. Imagine the first forests, towering ferns, strange tree-like plants with soft trunks, canopies that filter sunlight into green shadows. Feel the humidity of primitive air. hear the distant trickle of early streams, smell the sweet scent of fresh soil being created. Notice the movement beneath your feet, mycelium weaving like thread sewing the landscape together. Let yourself dissolve into that memory of Earth. Have you ever wondered what the world dreams about when no humans are watching? Perhaps it dreams of times when fungi rose like quiet giants, shaping continents with gentle persistence. Some ancient fungi grew inside insects, fossilized in amber. Some formed lichen partnerships that colonized bare rock. Some created early decomposer networks that kept ecosystems alive. Some even glowed, their bioluminescence shimmering in prehistoric nights. Imagine a night millions of years ago. The sky is clearer, filled with unfamiliar constellations. The land is still, covered in soft vegetation, and scattered across the ground, faint green glows flicker along fallen logs. Feel the calm of that ancient darkness. Hear nothing but the soft breath of the world. Let the glow guide you deeper into rest. You may already be drifting. That's perfect. You don't need to resist sleep. Ancient fungi witnessed the rise of forests, the spread of insects, the emergence of amphibians and reptiles. They survived mass extinctions, climate shifts, volcanic eruptions, and the drifting of continents. They endured with quiet resilience. Have you ever felt comforted by the idea that life continues even after great changes? Imagine watching continents shift beneath your feet, not fast, not sudden, but drifting like slow tides. Imagine forests rising and falling. Imagine oceans receding and returning. Imagine fungi weaving through every era, softening each landscape with patience. Fungi bridge past and present, carrying ancient rhythms into modern forests. Their spores contain echoes of worlds long gone. Their threads trace memories through soil. Their fruiting bodies rise like small reminders of deep time. Picture standing among modern trees now. Feel the bark beneath your hand. Hear the gentle rustle of leaves overhead. Smell fresh soil. Notice the world breathing around you. Let yourself drift into the idea that you are walking on ancient ground, held up by millions of years of fungal care. You don't need to stay awake for what comes next. This forest of forgotten giants will continue holding you, softly, gently, through every breath. Imagine settling into a quiet clearing at the edge of an ancient forest, where the air feels cool and the scent of damp leaves rises softly from the ground. You breathe slowly, letting your mind settle like falling dust. Light filters through trees in faint, gentle rays, illuminating floating particles that drift lazily in the stillness. As your body softens, allow this calm question to float through your thoughts like a feather on warm air. Are you in bed, on a couch, or somewhere peaceful? It's okay if you don't answer. You don't need to. You're safe here. Imagine sitting beside a fallen tree. Its trunk lies quiet, softened by time. The wood has begun to break apart, fibers loosening, bark peeling gently like old parchment. You run your fingers along its surface, feeling the subtle give of softened wood beneath your touch. The scent of rich soil rises around you, warm, earthy, soothing. Beneath that fallen trunk, fungi are at work, not loudly, not quickly, but patiently, tenderly, with the slow wisdom of millions of years. Have you ever wondered what happens to a tree after it falls? How something so strong, so tall, so heavy dissolves back into the world. Imagine the first stages, the bark splitting open, rainwater slipping into hidden cracks, moisture awakening dormant spores. Feel the cool dampness. Hear the quiet drip of water. Smell the faint sweetness of softening wood. Notice how life stirs invisibly beneath the surface. Let yourself drift into that gentle transformation. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to catch every detail. This world will unfold softly whether you're listening or dreaming. When a tree falls, fungi arrive like quiet caretakers. Some land as spores drifting through air. Others emerge from dormant mycelium already woven through the soil. They sense the chemistry of the wood, the moisture, the temperature, and begin releasing delicate enzymes. These enzymes drift through the trunk like whispers, breaking bonds within the wood's fibers. Lignin softens, cellulose loosens. The tree's strength dissolves into tenderness. Have you ever noticed how even the hardest things can soften with time? Picture yourself brushing loose fragments of wood from your fingertips. Feel how light they are. Hear the faint crumble. Smell the earthy sweetness growing stronger. Notice the life emerging from decay. Let yourself relax with that image. Fungi are the primary decomposers of forests. Without them, fallen trees would remain stiff monuments on the ground. Piling endlessly over centuries, forest floors would suffocate under layers of undecayed wood. But fungi prevent this, softly, steadily, invisibly. As they break down the tree, they release nutrients into the soil. Carbon becomes part of the earth again. Minerals drift into nearby roots. Nitrogen cycles back into plants. Every ending becomes a beginning. You might already be drifting. That's perfectly okay. Let go whenever your body asks. You don't need to stay alert. Some fungi specialize in breaking down lignin, one of the toughest natural substances on Earth. These are called white rot fungi, leaving pale, fibrous remains behind. Others specialize in cellulose, leaving dark, crumbly fragments known as brown rot. Together, these fungi turn what once held the forest upright into the soil that feeds the next generation. Imagine this slow alchemy happening grain by grain. Feel the wood softening under your hand. Hear the faint sigh of a log settling into itself. Smell the mix of earth and something sweet, almost like warm tea or dried leaves. Notice how soothing the process feels. Let yourself melt into that comfort. Have you ever wondered how long decomposition takes? Some logs take decades to disappear. Others dissolve within a few years. It depends on moisture, species, temperature, and the quiet fungal communities working within. In rainforests, decomposition is fast. Humidity encourages lush fungal networks that move quickly. In colder climates, logs may rest for half a century, slowly returning to soil under blankets of snow and moss. Imagine touching a log covered in moss. The surface is cool, soft, alive. Hear the wind passing over the forest floor. Smell the freshness of green growth. Notice how new sprouts rise from decayed wood. Let yourself drift deeper. Long ago, scientists watched time-lapse footage of fungi decomposing a block of wood. What they saw was astonishingly gentle. White threads weaving outward like soft lace, caressing each wooden fibre, dissolving it with patient grace. Fungi don't destroy, they transform. You're allowed to transform gently too, without urgency, without pressure, just softly, in your own time. Imagine following the mycelial threads inside the wood. They move slowly, branching outward like rivers of moonlight. Feel the cool darkness within the trunk. Hear the faint crackle of dissolving fibres. Smell the shift from sharp wood scent to deep, rich earth. Notice how the trunk becomes part of the forest floor again. Let yourself drift with it. Have you ever thought about the way forests cycle endlessly? How every fallen leaf, every lost branch, every old piece of bark becomes nourishment for something new. Fungi are the quiet guardians of that cycle. They break down leaf litter. They dissolve pine needles. They soften fallen fruits. They cradle seeds in nutrient-rich beds. They turn death into soil and soil into life. And you, listening to this with heavy eyelids, are drifting into that cycle of calm. Breath in, breath out, each one returning you softly to yourself. Picture a forest after rainfall. Everything glistens, the ground feels warm, spores awaken in the moisture, fruiting bodies rise overnight, tiny umbrellas pushing through softened wood. Hear the gentle drip of rainwater, smell fresh petrichor, feel the quiet rebirth happening all around. Let yourself be part of it. Imagine settling into a deep, calming quiet, the kind that slips over your thoughts like soft fabric, smoothing everything it touches. The world around you dims gently, as though someone lowered the lights of your mind with slow, tender fingers. Your breath becomes a rhythm. Your body settles. And in this softened place, a gentle question rises like mist from the forest floor. Are you in bed, on a couch, or somewhere peaceful? Wherever you are, it's enough. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to hold on to every moment. You may drift whenever your body begins to sway towards sleep. Now imagine yourself entering a quiet forest clearing at dawn. Soft light filters through branches above, catching on floating dust and turning each mote into a tiny ember of gold. The ground here feels cushioned, as though the forest has laid out a gentle bed just for you. Feel the cool air brushing your skin, hear the faint hum of morning insects, smell the rich scent of earth slowly warming. And then, as your eyes adjust, you begin to see shapes, unusual, elegant, impossibly delicate fungal bodies rising from the soil. Have you ever wondered why fungi take so many forms? Why they seem almost dreamlike in their variety? Long ago, early naturalists thought fungi were strange accidents of nature, decorations rather than living beings with purpose. But the truth is far softer, far deeper. Each shape, each curve, each fold of a fungal body is part of a patient expression of survival, communication, and ancient memory. Imagine approaching a cluster of coral fungi. They rise like underwater branches, pale and delicate, but here they stand on the forest floor, branches made not of coral, but of quiet, living tissue. Feel the gentleness of the air around them. Hear the silence beneath their stillness. Notice how each branch sways even without wind. Let yourself sway with it. Coral fungi are reminders that nature repeats patterns across environments, sea and soil, ocean and forest. They grow slowly, extending thin fingers upward, creating intricate mazes where insects wander and tiny droplets of dew form at dawn. Let your breath match the slow rise of these quiet structures. Nearby you might notice a group of cup fungi, small simple bowls of tender flesh shaped like miniature chalices. Some are bright orange, glowing faintly in the morning light. Others are deep red, like soft embers. Their shapes help collect moisture, guiding droplets into their centers where spores gather before drifting into the world. Have you ever wondered how shape influences destiny? How even the smallest curve can change the story of a life? Cup fungi embody the art of receiving. They simply open themselves and allow the world to arrive. You can too. You may already feel yourself drifting. There's no need to resist. It's okay to soften here. Imagine moving deeper into the clearing and discovering puffballs, round and smooth, like tiny moons resting on the ground. When touched, lightly, gently, they release clouds of spores that drift softly into the air, glowing briefly in the sunbeam like smoky stars. Feel the softness of the air carrying them. Hear the faint whisper of their release. Notice how even a small touch can send them into the sky. Let yourself be that light, that free, that effortless. Puffballs are perfectly shaped for this release. Their round bodies store spores like quiet treasure, waiting for small breezes or passing animals to awaken them. Some species grow as large as melons, others remain smaller than marbles. All of them hold galaxies inside. Have you ever wondered how many worlds exist in a single rounded form? Now imagine turning your head and seeing shelf fungi, broad, layered formations jutting from tree trunks like ancient steps or quiet sculptures. Their edges are sometimes smooth, sometimes ridged, sometimes painted with lines of brown and cream. Place your hand near one. Feel the cool shadow beneath its wide cap. Smell the scent of the tree it feeds from. Hear the faint silence of wood being softened. Notice the solidity of its form. Shelf fungi grow outward slowly, creating annual rings like trees. Some become massive, easily supporting the weight of a small animal. Others remain delicate, barely more than paper. They live for years, sometimes decades, forming the forest's own architecture. You might not remember all of this later. That's perfectly fine. Your mind is allowed to wander like spores drifting between shapes. Picture now the strange beauty of earth stars, fungi that look like flowers opening from the soil. Their outer layer peels back into delicate rays, revealing a puffball center resting like a pearl in a softly unfolding blossom. Feel the wonder of seeing such a form in silence. Hear the gentle crackle of dry leaves underfoot. Notice the soft opening of those rays, as though the ground itself were blooming. Let yourself open too. Earth stars respond to moisture, their rays closing when dry and opening when damp. They move with quiet intelligence, sensing the world around them without haste. Have you ever wondered how the earth expresses itself without sound? There are fungi shaped like antlers, rising in branching silhouettes from fallen logs. There are fungi that resemble tiny birds' nests, complete with eggs that hold spores. There are fungi shaped like goblets, wheels, trumpets, spines, veils, and even delicate lacework that looks too fragile to exist. Imagine standing among these forms. Feel the forest breathe around you. Hear the faint hum of distant life. Smell the dampness of shaded earth. Notice how your body begins to mirror the stillness of the shapes before you. Let yourself become part of this quiet architecture. Some fungi mimic leaves or petals to blend into their environment. Others mimic stones or soil. A few even shape themselves to attract insects by resembling small bits of decaying fruit. Each form is a soft message spoken in the language of survival. You don't need to understand every message. You don't need to follow every detail. It's okay if your eyes feel heavy now. It's okay to drift. Imagine discovering a patch of stinkhorn fungi, known for their peculiar shapes, tall and hollow, with caps that look almost like lanterns made of lace and shadow. Their forms are so unusual that early explorers thought us to traces of mythical creatures. Feel the gentle curiosity of that moment. Hear the soft shift of leaves around them. Notice how their structure rises quickly after rain, like a story suddenly told. Let yourself rise and fall with the rhythm. And there, nestled in the moss, you might find a species shaped like a tiny coral fan, or a folded ear, or a starburst of delicate needles. The world of fungi is not a world of repetition. It is a world of patient invention, each shape sculpted slowly by evolution's quiet hand. As you stand in this clearing of strange dreamlike forms, you may begin to feel your thoughts becoming softer, rounder, gentler, mirroring the shapes you see around you. You don't need to stay awake for part B. You don't need to wait for the end. If your body wants to drift, let it. The forest will hold you. Imagine settling into a gentle stillness, as if the world has exhaled and left behind a quiet space for you to rest within. Your breathing slows on its own, soft and unhurried, like the slow ebb of waves smoothing a shoreline. The night folds around you, peaceful and deep. Before we drift further into this calm place, let this gentle question float to the surface of your thoughts. Are you in bed, on a couch, or somewhere peaceful right now? You don't need to answer. You don't even need to stay awake. This chapter will hold you the way Earth holds roots, softly, steadily, without asking for anything in return. Imagine walking into a forest at dawn. The light is dim and blue, filtering through tall trees in thin beams that shift with the breeze. The air carries the scent of wet leaves, rich soil, and distant rainfall. Beneath your feet, the ground yields slightly, soft as if it remembers the footsteps of countless seasons. You breathe in slowly, and the forest feels alive, not loudly, not brightly, but with a quiet energy that settles deep in your chest. Have you ever wondered what happens to everything that falls in a forest? The branches broken by storms, the leaves shed after autumn's final sigh, the trunks of trees that lived for centuries. All of it must return to the earth somehow, softly, gently, without haste. And that return is guided by fungi. Imagine kneeling beside a fallen log, its bark softened by time. Feel its cool surface beneath your fingertips. Hear the faint crumble of wood as it shifts under your touch. Smell the sweetness of decay rising softly. Notice the threads of mycelium weaving through it like delicate webs of moonlight. Let that image settle over you, calm and grounding. Fungi are the quiet recyclers of the world. They dissolve the old so the new may rise. They soften what once stood tall, turning it into nourishment for future roots. They turn endings into beginnings. You don't need to remember every detail. It's okay to drift. You're safe here. Long ago, before forests existed as we know them, fungal ancestors were among the first organisms to break down tough plant walls. Early plants had risen stubbornly from the sea, forming stiff, woody structures that no creature knew how to unravel. But fungi arrived with patience, with slow enzymes, with silent persistence. They unlock the treasures hidden in ancient wood, allowing life on land to flourish. Imagine those early mushrooms growing along ancient shorelines. Feel the humid air of a primordial world. Hear the soft lapping of shallow waves. Smell the freshness of untouched earth. Notice how even then fungi were caretakers of renewal. Let that deep history make your breath calmer, slower. In today's forests, some fungi specialize in breaking down lignin, the tough molecule that gives wood its strength. Others dissolve cellulose. Some species gleam with moisture, spreading through fallen trees like gentle fire. Some work inside the wood, unseen, until one day the bark collapses softly with the touch of a deer's hoof or a falling leaf. Have you ever touched wood that crumbles between your fingers like paper? That softness is the quiet signature of fungal work. Imagine lifting a piece of fallen bark. Sense how light it has become. Feel the way it breaks apart easily, as if tired from holding itself together. Hear the delicate crunch, like dry leaves settling. Smell the deep, warm aroma of earth enriched by years of slow breakdown. Notice how decay can feel peaceful, not frightening. Let that calm seep into your thoughts. You might already be drifting. If your mind wanders, let it. If your eyes grow heavy, that's perfect. Some fungi return nutrients to the soil so effectively that entire plant communities rely on their cycles. Every fallen leaf becomes nourishment. Every branch feeds the next generation of roots. Every collapsed tree becomes a cradle for seedlings. Decaying logs, softened by fungal work, become nurse logs, quiet incubators where mosses grow thick, where ferns unfurl, where young trees take their first patient breaths. Have you ever wondered why forests smell the way they do after rain? Much of that scent comes from the gentle activity of fungal bodies waking up, swelling with moisture, releasing aromatic compounds as they begin dissolving organic matter. Imagine the smell of damp wood after a storm. Rich, warm, comforting. Let that scent drift through your mind like a memory. As fungi break down fallen trees, they create pockets of air within the wood, forming tiny caves where insects hide, where beetles lay eggs, where salamanders nestle into the coolness. When you see a decaying log, you're seeing a whole ecosystem constructed softly, slowly, with patient fungal hands. You don't need to stay awake through all of this. The details are here even if you drift away. It's okay to rest. One quiet fact: some fungi can dissolve rock, not aggressively, never with force. They release acids that whisper into the mineral structure, inviting it to soften. Over time, stone becomes soil, and soil becomes life. Imagine that process now. Rock, unmoving and ancient, slowly softening over centuries. Feel the cool texture of stone in your palm. Hear the deep silence of geological time. Smell the minerals when rain hits exposed surfaces. Notice how something as soft as a fungus can change something as strong as stone. Let yourself drift with that idea. Have you ever thought about how nature depends on quiet work? Not loud storms, not sudden change, but slow, steady processes that unfold unnoticed. Picture a branch falling to the forest floor. Rain dampens it. Fungal spores land upon it. Threads begin exploring the wood. Enzymes dissolve the first layers. Years pass. The branch becomes soft, then crumbly, then soil. A story of transformation, told in whispers. Some fungi glow as they break down wood, their faint green light spreading beneath bark like an exhalation from the earth. Some release sweet scents that attract insects who help spread spores. Some create intricate patterns of decay, rings, stripes, veils, turning dead wood into delicate art. Imagine placing your hand on a log lit faintly from within. Feel its cool moisture. Hear the soft shifting of tiny creatures inside. See the glow through thin layers of bark. Let the quiet magic of it wash over you. You might be floating towards sleep already. You can surrender to it gently. There's no need to remain alert. Some fungi recycle leaves so efficiently that within a single season, the forest floor renews itself entirely. Others specialize in decaying pine needles, cones, and resinous materials too tough for most organisms. Some fungi break down the remains of animals, returning nutrients to the earth in a cycle that feels both soft and sacred. Have you ever noticed how nothing lingers forever in a forest? Everything returns. Everything transforms. Imagine lying down in a clearing where the soil is deep, soft, rich from centuries of decay. Feel that softness cradle your body. Hear the faint rustling of leaves overhead. Smell the earthy sweetness rising from the ground. Notice how warm and alive the soil feels. Let yourself sink into that comfort. You don't need to hold on to consciousness if sleep is calling you. You can drift now or later. Either is perfect.